Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Today we sit with a sabad from Rag Jaitsari, revealed to us by the fifth Nanak, Guru Arjan Dev Ji, and the sabad is inscribed on Ang 702 of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. It's a short sabad, 2 lines to each stanza, 3 stanzas, including the Rahau. So we will recite it first, wholly, and then consider the different movements. Jaitsari Mahalla Panjava Aae Anik Janam Bhram Sarni Udar Deho Andkoop te Lavho Apni Charni Rahao Gyan Dhyan Kich Karm N Jana Nahin Nirmal Karni Sad Sangat Ke Anchal Lavo Bikham Nadi Jaye Tarni Sukh Sampat Maya Ras Meethe Eh nahi man meh tarni Har darsan tripat nanak das pavat Har naam rang aparni. So let's consider the first Rahau verse. Aae Anik Janam Bhram Sarni Udar Dehe Andkoop te Lavho Apni Charni Rahau. So a simple rendering of this verse would be, having wandered through countless cycles of delusion, Aae Anik Janam Bhram, delusion, self-doubt. So I have wandered through countless such cycles of delusion, and I have come to you for shelter. I have come to your shelter. Aae Anik Janam Bhram Sarni. Lift me out of the blind well. Udar Deho Andkoop te. Andkoop, the blind well. Lavho Apni Charni, and anchor me in the grounding feet. So what is being said here? Let's consider that. So it essentially reflects a mind that is trapped in its ego state. The blind well is a metaphor. It is a metaphor for the ego. And the ego is the one that builds these walls of self-referentiality which blind it to the horizon of possibilities. And then through endless loops of hearing its own echo, meaning its own narratives, it is unable to see beyond, and it exhausts itself. So this first Rahau reflects this exhaustion of the ego mind. It also reflects the realization that the ego, which is the ultimate swindler, cannot think its way out of the ego. It requires a tether, a rope from the outside. And that rope is the grounding feet of wisdom, charani. So what is the outside here? There really is no outside. The outside simply means the ego has to think, has to step outside its own frame of thinking, because there is a larger frame at work here. When you're in a blind well, you can't see the horizon. You only hear your own echo. You speak, and the same voice comes back to you. This is that closed loop, self-referential consciousness, constantly rehearsing its own story. In terms of our present-day lives, think of this blind well as the intensity that we are addicted to. We are constantly looping for intensity, that next rush of adrenaline, stimulation, whatever source it comes through, whether it's breaking news, social media outrage, binge watching, what have you. Even in spirituality, we are constantly chasing peak experiences. So essentially, what we are doing by living in the blind well is that we are confusing intensity with aliveness. We are afraid that if nothing dramatic happens, and when it doesn't happen, we feel empty. So we drop back down to the same well, scrolling, reacting, amplifying, searching for the next spike. So lift me out of this blind well then becomes a plea of, it's essentially saying, get me out of this compulsive loop in which I am caught. I keep mistaking stimulation for death. I keep mistaking agitation for life. And the second movement, which amplifies the Rahau, it says, Gyan Dhyan Kich Karm N Jana Nahin Nirmal Karni Sad Sangat Ka Anchal Lavo Bikham Nadi Jai Tarni. Now here's another metaphor, the Bikham Nadi. Essentially what is being said here in simple literal translation is, Gyan Dhyan Kich Karam Na Jana. I possess no esoteric knowledge, nor have I engaged in deep meditation or perfected the art of rituals, karam. Nahin nirmal karni, and I can't claim that my conduct is selfless. I can't claim that either. In other words, I'm really empty. But the plea is, let me grasp the hem of wisdom so that I may cross this turbulent river of existence. Gyan Dhyan Kich Karam Na Jana Nahin Nirmal Karni. I know none of these things. Sad Sangat Ke Anchal Lavo. Here's the plea. Sad Sangati. Sad means perfection in the company of perfection. What does that really mean? It means ground me in virtue. And the virtues that Gurbani spells out, among other things, are Sat, Santokh. These are what we call guns in Punjabi. Those are perfections that we have to develop. Now, a-sad is also a reference to a person who has these virtues. It is also a reference to the Guru, who is an embodiment of virtue, you see. So it is saying, may I grab on to the hem of such a presence, whether it is embodied or whether it is textual, Gurbani, but I have to hang on so that these virtues begin to develop in myself. I need them so that I can cross over the turbulent waters of the river of life. This is the second metaphor. Perilous, turbulent river. If the well, the blind well, is static, it signifies claustrophobia, then The river of life is moving and chaotic. It's equally frightening. It is the stream of experiences, of emotions and information, sensory input that is constantly rushing through us. And what would that river look like in our day and age? What's going on around the world today in March of 2026? You have 24/7 news, timelines and feeds, crisis, economic insecurity, emotional roller coasters. This is the river of drama that we live in. And our nervous systems have become trained to feel normal only when we are a bit overamped with all of this. Calm feels boring. Yet Guruji's response is, but we are exhausted. Our systems are exhausted. That is why we are praying. Let me grasp the hem of the wise, or let me grasp the hem of wisdom, so I may cross over this. It's about resonance. That is what is being asked for. And then the third movement, the shift. Sukh sampat maya rasa meethe. Sukh sampat maya rasa meethe. Sukh, comforts, well-being. Sampat from sampatti, wealth, possessions. Maya rasa meethe. These are the sweet flavors of Maya, that mirage that we live in. These are the sweet lures that tempt us. But now, eh nahi man meh tarani. Tarani means they are no longer held within my mind as the mind's support. My mind, in other words, is no longer addicted to them. Har darsan tripat. Hari darsan tripat. Tripat here signifies something that has happened. I have tripti, as they would say in Punjabi, which means satiation, fulfillment. The fuel of desire is under control. And that is har darsan. When I experienced the consciousness that is evergreen, which means there is a consciousness that sits above our ego consciousness. When I actually attached myself to that consciousness, I felt a sense of deep comfort, tripat, fulfillment. Nanak Das Pavat, the servant Nanak, is making that assertion. Har naam rang abharani. Abharani is what you adorn, ornamental. So the ornament of wisdom is what adorns me now. So these are all things in the world that we chase after, but they bring no lasting comfort. Har darsan tripat. Fulfillment comes only in the vision, which is wisdom. Rang, har naam rang, being colored. This is not just a short-lived thing. It is an abiding color. Tonal quality of your being, your experience. It is a vibrancy that comes, har, aliveness, without anxiety, without drama. So the adrenaline that the ego seeks through all of these worldly favors is like a spike of a drug that rises and crashes constantly, leaves us exhausted. But rang is that deep saturation that stays. So this Shabad, essentially, if we were to step back, is describing the arc of psychological transition. So as you sit with this Shabad, you might ask, where is my blind well? What is the place that I keep going back to for that next hit of intensity, even though it leaves me empty? What is my turbulent river? What is that drama stream that I swim in every day? And what are my sweet mirage flavors? What are the comforts, the high arousal states I always seek and rely on just to feel alive? And ask yourself, whose hem can I hold? Which company, which practice, which sabad, which silence can help my nervous system discover a different kind of aliveness, which is called Har Darsan Tripat, Har Darsan Rang. So may this Shabad help move us with courage from the rush of adrenaline to attunement with hukam, from work intensity and worship of intensity to wise leisure, from restlessness to becoming simple, radiant in the sufficiency of the Har. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.